The note ban has not impacted tax collections yet. For some states like Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, a drop in revenue collection is expected this fiscal. Participating in our special series of discussions, State of the Nation, here's what ministers from Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Assam had to say on the impact of demonetisation on their tax collections and also the road ahead for the GST.
We have seen unexplained surges in some of the declarations. So I think it will, once the December declarations come, which they will in the next 1 or 2 days, we will get a much better picture. But our state government officers have looked at several sectors, and their assessment is that there would be about 3,000 to 5,000 crore deficit in revenue vis-a-vis the targets that have been set for this period, that is up until March.
So, Mr. Gaurav, let me ask you then, where have you seen the most impact? You're talking about several sectors having been hit on account of demonetisation. Can you articulate for us which sectors have felt the maximum amount of pain, and where are you seeing job losses, if any, today?
Across most sectors, we have seen everybody reporting lower turnovers. The most prominent ones that perhaps have a wider recognition would be even automobile sales have come down. Most of the activities in the real estate sector have come down. Even retail of garments and activities related to garments have come down. People in different parts of Karnataka who used to come to Bangalore for jobs like in the garment sector, like in the construction sector, we have got anecdotal reports that they have been let go of their jobs. So there are job losses in a lot of construction and service sectors, and transactions of automobiles, transactions of properties, all these, even retail sales have also come down. So we notice that there is a decline across most of the sectors.
Okay, Mr. Gaurav, I'll come back to you in just a bit. Let me bring in Mr. Pandeyarajan from Tamil Nadu for his assessment of the impact of demonetisation on the state's economy. Mr. Pandeyarajan, you probably just heard Mr. Gaurav there taking us through the sectors which have been most severely impacted: construction, automobiles, real estate, retail, garment manufacturing, and so on and so forth. Mr. Gaurav also there talking about a revenue deficit of between 3,000 and 5,000 crore rupees. Can you take us through what the state is in Tamil Nadu?
Yeah, Tamil Nadu also has reported a certain decline compared to, say, October, November and December have been very weak. But somehow, compared to the past year, our dip is not as sharp as what my friend Mr. Gowda is saying from Karnataka.
If I could ask you month on month, between October of this year, November and December, you're saying that there has been a decline. Can you take us through those numbers?
There's been a decline. Yeah, so marginal decline compared to, normally we have a spurt in November, December, especially in December when we file the returns or whatever. So normally there's a certain spurt. That spurt vis-a-vis October is not there, really speaking. Normally, October, November, December will be like this, where we just kind of nicely taper upwards kind of a thing. So that is not there. It's showing a flat and marginal lesser trend. So if you have to distill out and say, I think the impact of demonetisation is a 5 to 6% dip in our potential revenue. What would have happened but for the demonetisation? That's what we are able to make an assessment. And this is on a base of around 68,000 crores. I'm only talking of commercial taxes part of the income.
Let me also bring in the Finance Minister of Assam, Mr. Hemanta Biswa. He joins us as well. Sir, thanks very much for joining us on CNBC TV 18. We were just having a conversation there with the ministers from Tamil Nadu and Karnataka on the impact of demonetisation on the state's revenues. Both seems to suggest that there is a potential dip of between 5 to 6% on their revenues. Can you take us to what the picture is like in Assam at this point in time, in terms of what you anticipate with revenue collections?
Yeah, in Assam, in the month of November, we registered a growth of 11% in our revenue. And in the month of December, we registered a growth of 21% in our revenue. So far, we are not getting any negative impact of demonetization as of now.
If I were to ask you then, sir, to explain to us why you believe your revenue collection numbers are looking as good as they are, because other states are not entirely convinced. They believe that the data is volatile at this point in time. How do you explain the numbers that you have seen?
First of all, the impact is so far. Initially, there was a problem, but because people were allowed to collect, deposit their old tax in old currency, so there was some area has been cleared. So that was a bonanza for the state.
Do you believe that these numbers are sustainable, sir?
I think now my impact on the ground that normally in this entire year we are having 12 to 13% growth right from April. I think January also will have that kind of growth, 12 to 15% growth we will have.
Before I let you go, sir, let me ask you about the possibility of the GST rollout now, because you've been party to the negotiations at the GST Council. What seems to be a realistic timeline now? Should we work with the 1st of July as a possibility for the GST?
Yeah, on the 16th Feb, we'll close the cross-employment issue, because now there is a almost consensus on table. But Union FM is of the view, because 5 states is on election, and we are expecting new finance minister to join in our panel, or maybe the old one. So he says that we should not close the issue morally and ethically till the finance minister of other 5 states also join in. So final decision, I think, although we'll cleanse the issue on 16th Feb, but finally it will be, seal of approval will be put somewhere in the end of March. So I think the 1st July is the realistically we can look for the GST rollout, July 1st.
Mr. Pandeyarajan, back to you. We just heard from the Finance Minister of Assam saying that the 1st of July seems to be a much more realistic timeline as far as the GST rollout is concerned. Would you agree?
Yeah, the question is who win these 5 state elections? You have, if you have the spectacle of all opposition winning kind of a thing. See, till now, the GST Council has largely worked without any political considerations. There's not been, everybody has been split along the lines of the issues. And if that remains so, I would see a good consensus emerging very soon. Hemanto Biswas from Assam was pointing out that it's February 15th. It's actually January 16th that we are meeting now. Right. In another week from now, we are meeting. And if this 16th is when we are meeting. So if that does happen, there could well be a consensus at that time, because there are only 2 issues on which a decision is eluding us. And those 2 issues could actually be resolved in 4 or 5 hours if central government really senses the mood of the House and is able to take some positive steps. I don't see any reason why it can't be closed now. Waiting for the elections to end and, coming back with a new set of people, in my view, it's a greater risk for the central government. I think they should, they know issues which are involved. They know the extent of flexibility that they could really have. I would really like to see this getting closed on January 16th, in which case 1st of July is a possibility. If it is not closed and allowed to fester along, you would have a serious chance of going further beyond 1st of July. 1st of April is out of question.
Well, that's an excerpt of State of the Nation there. Some states expect a dip in revenue collections. Some states have registered a good jump in revenue collections. Whether or not that's sustainable is a question. And, of course, that January 16th meeting of the GST Council, crucial. Now, customers